So how quick is it? Well, we're just over 200 brake horsepower per tonne. It's actually quite sprightly. Although there is a drawback to that, as you might have alluded to. Yeah. Yeah. I thought I'd take advantage of the sun and the break in the rain to put a cap on all of this. This is my Fiat Panda 100 horsepower. It's a little bit special, and I will show you why. It's got one of them in it, so it's technically no longer a 100 horsepower Panda. It's closer to a 200 horsepower Panda. Now, this is your quintessential project car, except with most project cars they're in a state of, well, not completedness, whereas this is closer to complete than it isn't, which makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Yes. All of the videos that pertain to me shoehorning that into that car are up there somewhere, which will get you caught up on the main of it. Now, reason why I wanted to do this video is to get a bit of a summary, put a bit of a cap on it, because like most project cars, it'll probably never be finished. However, this is currently in a state of roadworthiness and it is being used. That's right, I am daily driving my project car. Should you do that? Is it safe? Is it worth it? We'll find out in the video. It's important, I think, that we kind of put all that on the table, because you might be sat there thinking, I want to do that with mine. What's the pros and cons? You might also be thinking, it's nothing to do with the Fiat Panda. Should I actually be thinking of getting a project car and using it? Can you do that? Because most project cars, let's face it, they don't make it past the Facebook Marketplace stage, let alone the build stage, and let alone the MOT, let's go drive this stage. So I'm quite pleased with the fact that we've got it into this position, and I am using it on a daily basis. Should you? Well, I'll give you a bit of a rundown now in a minute. So we're driving around a few, side streets, as it were, although these used to be pretty important back in the day. And yeah, the clutch is heavy-ish. It's the nature of the beast. The clutch on this is, I'm not going to say uprated, because it is a standard clutch, but it is the compass only clutch, which means that it does have a little bit of does give your left leg a bit of a workout, but that's not a problem. You expect that. You do have to be very choice about where in the road you put it, because even though I've joked about it before, the potholes are so bad, cars like this are becoming, let's just say, less than there are people in positions of authority who should literally be hanging their heads in shame over the state of these roads. There's a vaping schoolgirl. Huh. It's a little bit on the cheeky side. So yeah. There you go. Visibility is down to 1,000 meters. I'm glad you got your fog lamp on. What a donut. I'm doing a journey which used to take me 20 minutes. This journey now takes a minimum of 35, and that's not because the roads have changed, the different thing. It's because there is significantly more traffic, which kind of gets on to another thing, because obviously this car being, you know, slightly more brisk than it used to be, you don't get an opportunity to use that. But doubling the power in it doesn't make any difference to it when you're actually using it on the road, because you're not going anywhere anyway. Just that's third gear. If you're not stuck in a bit of traffic like this, or pottering along at 20 mile an hour, because that's the speed limit in this country, you're in the outside lane of a dual carriageway doing 50 mile an hour behind somebody who is turning right at the roundabout in 4 miles time, because that's how people drive now. It's fairly compliant in traffic like this, though. I can't really complain as an overall sort of package. Yeah. I mean, it isn't as compliant, I suppose, as something like the Ford Focus there and what have you, and it's not... I never pick the right lane. Ever pick the right lane. The Achilles heel. The junction, the roundabout. Yeah. Do you know what, driving it reminds me a lot of Mark IV Escort RS. You know, about 1990, somewhere around there. Quite a bit of lag. No traction, and it's naked as well. There is no interference out from anything else. It's, you are alive, you know? That's kind of nice. It's not braking for me, it's not thinking for me, it's not sorting the traction out. It's got me, and it's, you know. And that's it, we're stuck on this dual carriageway now doing 45 mile an hour in the outside lane. Tell you what, mate, I'll just sit by her, shall I? Don't matter anyway. I'll just sit here and do 50, shall I? So the noise in your, when you're running, and this exhaust or that back box, which I've brought over from the old setup, that was always a bit of an odd one. It got louder as it got warmer. So when, you know, we're fully up to temperature and everything else now, and that box, it does start, and it has a lovely tone to it, and which is another reason I really wanted to keep it. I've done recently 400 mile round trip in this, and I've done several other longer trips in it as well, and I'll be honest with you, there you go, I'm off boost, you can hear it just slightly, there you go, it's a lot louder than it would be normally. And you can hear the forced induction. This, in my mind, is perfectly acceptable. This time of year, with all the crap on the road and everything else and all the salt and what have you, you do come up against a slight problem, and that is you can only use the thingamy-bob 4 or 5 times before you sat there going through some sort of weird washer fluid anxiety. Never thought I'd say that. Washer fluid anxiety. Whoa. Has anyone ever uttered that term? I think I might be the first. So how quick is it? Well, we're just over 200 brake horsepower per tonne. It's actually quite sprightly. Although there is a drawback to that, as you might have alluded to. Yeah. Yeah. So what's it like for passengers? Well, I wouldn't know because I've never been a passenger in it. However, most of the passengers I have had usually end up holding on to handles and screaming, "Dear God, is that GPS speed actually right?" You've got 5-door practicality, which is something else you don't have in a 500. But to be honest with you, you don't really want anyone in the back because the weight does tend to make the exhaust knock a bit. And, you know, there's none of this going on then and no screaming. So that's a week's worth of shopping, you know, and you've got square space. You can't get that in the back of a 500. It just doesn't work. It does, however, have at least one, maybe 2 usable cup holders, which is more than you get in a Citroen C5. The Abarth seats that I added a few years ago do a pretty good job of holding you in place, even though they're not the most comfortable. To be honest, it's all relative because you drive it however you want to drive it. The difference between this and its previous incarnation was previously you would be able to drive it at its limit. You would be able to drive it and you would walk away from it with the immense satisfaction knowing the car had absolutely given you everything it had. Now it's just a friggin' hooligan, and that's kind of fun. I mean, it's off its chain, it really is. It's just, you know, I mean, if I was to just drop that and yeah, I cannot wait to do a track day in this. Never get old, ever. Life is all about compromises. Anything that is going to be good at one thing by its very nature means it isn't going to be good at something else. If you try and make something that's good at everything, it'll just end up being at best average at those things. I think that by doing what we've done here, we've just moved from one column to another column. And that's pretty much where we are with things. I am more than happy with what has occurred here. I do not in the slightest bit regret this. We're driving it back and forth to work. So, you know, what more do you want? We've achieved what we wanted to achieve. So I think that we can tick this off as a success, you know? So one of the things I get asked a lot about the project is, what did it cost? And it's a bit difficult to tell, and it's a bit difficult to say, because I started out with a car, a running, working car that I was using every day. So do I factor that in? I don't know. I could give you a rough price, which is what a lot of people are asking for, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to do that here, but I will at some point. Yeah. We still haven't got to the bottom of the P500, which is kind of like an ABS code. It's got something to do with the ECU expecting to see a speed sensor in the gearbox. There isn't one, so it can't see it. So when it matches up the numbers from the wheels to something that isn't there, it kind of has a fit. Now, it doesn't really make any difference, it just throws a code. So it looks like I've got the EML on, and I don't, really. I do, but it's not anything to worry about. The climate control does work fully. I can't fault it at the moment. I would say that it probably needs a bit more gas, because I don't think, and I filled it with a can I did, I don't think that one can is enough to completely fill the system. It's enough to get it working, but I reckon when it gets a bit warmer, it'll struggle a bit. So we'll have a look into that. I haven't put any more in because I might have to take it all back off again. From an engineering or technical standpoint, I'll be honest with you, part of the evolution needs to be probably an LSD. I think that would go a long way into resolving the issue. But the laws of physics are the laws of physics, you know what I mean? This is 200 brake horsepower in this element, yeah. You know, 20 mile an hour. Yeah. Good, isn't it? Just as well, actually, that it is so completely compliant in a situation like this, because these days, this is it. This is, you know, this is what you get. Yet another journey, and as you can see, copes fairly well in inclement weather. Yes. We're in 5th gear. You're sitting here now thinking, oh, I could really do with another gear. I really missed the 6-gear gearbox. And then you look at everything and you realise that you're doing the speed limit anyway. That's 3rd. So, 2 questions. First question, did we ruin a perfectly good Panda 100 horsepower? No. I paid 700 quid for this car 5 years ago. I bought it as a parts car for another one that I bought. Turned out to be in better condition than the other one I bought, so I fixed this one as a lockdown project. It has done, or it had done, 140 odd thousand miles. The engine was tired. So if you get the opportunity to swap something, makes sense to upgrade it. It does in my head anyway. And that's what we did. Sure, it was a little bit of extra work, but what did we learn in the process? Well, quite a bit. And the whole experience, to be honest with you, I have absolutely no regrets. None. The car is still handling, it's still driving, it's still working in exactly the same way as it did. It did surprise me that the car doesn't really seem to handle there's still the same balance, there is still the same posture, and considering we've added a little bit of weight to the front and changed the track and a few other bits and pieces, doesn't seem to me have made a massive amount of difference to the way that it drives in that respect. Sure, it's a lot quicker, but we're not really seeing the downsides that I thought we would. I've managed to get a car out of it that does exactly what I need it to do, and probably a bit more. You can get your shopping in the boot. You can drive 400 miles in it without breaking your back. It comes close though, you know, but it did that anyway. It does roughly the same fuel economy as an Abarth. If anyone in an Abarth says, oh, I get 40 miles to the gallon out of mine all day, they're lying to you. They'll only ever get sort of early to mid 30s out of it, because best will in the world, that's how you end up driving it. It's all relative. Should you daily drive your project car? That's exactly what we are doing. It was built for it. There are compromises that I've made to keep this car drivable. We could have gone up in the power. We could have gone down in the weight. We could have stripped things out. We could have gone mad. But thankfully, I suppose I didn't, because I'm getting my value for money out of the car by keeping it, you know. We've got sat-nav, we've got all of the climate control, working climate control here. I don't know what else to say. It's the reliability of it will remain to be seen. I do have a bit of anxiety about certain things, you know, and it's like we've just done all the work on the turbo and the manifold. Hopefully that's done now, but there are certain things that we've got to keep, you know, because at the end of the day, that wasn't meant to go in there. So I'm expecting a little bit of pushback. At the moment, we've done probably coming up to 3,000 miles with the engine in this car. I can't say I've had any major, you know, I haven't been stranded on the side of the road. Why did I just say that? I'm gonna tick the box on this one and say, yep, absolutely fantastic. I'll never get old. Tell you something else as well. It's a damn sight faster and it costs a damn sight less than converting a Volkswagen up to a GTI. Just saying. I cannot remember the time that I was sat in my house and I thought, do you know what? I fancy going for a drive. I find myself trying to come up with excuses to go out in this car. I only got 3 bottles of milk, we needed a 4th. I think I might have left something on at the workshop. Yeah. This journey is normally 16 miles. I've probably gone 8 miles out of my way, taken a longer route, just so I can spend time driving this car. It was engaging before, but wow. It's like crack, I suppose. Yeah. So I'm going to tick the boxes. I'm going to say that in this case, I got my cake and I'm eating it. Although I never understood that phrase, because if you got a cake, why would you do anything else with it? Well, you know what I got to do here, don't you? So I suppose going forward, one of the things I got to do is figure out where I'm going to get a steady supply of Michelin PS3s. Or how do we fit 4-wheel drive? Catch you on the next one. It's alright, that.